Well, hello everyone and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is really about, are you in the creativity industry? Are you struggling to make sense of all the hard work you're really putting into to make something work? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you struggling? Are you not an actor, actress? Really going for many auditions and nothing is happening. Well, my guest today will tell you the reason he truly believes hard work pays off. Failure is not, you're not a failure until you give up. His name's Ahmed Mawas. He's a top model and now one of the greatest in Hollywood. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He was born in London, England, and raised between Ghana in Africa and Lebanon. Ahmed relocated to the United States in 2006 and attended the University of Minnesota. After graduating with a degree in electric engineering, after a successful career in modeling with notable appearances in commercial and print campaign, Ahmed relocated to Los Angeles, sorry, take that bit out, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles. Ahmed relocated to Los Angeles to pursue a career in film and television. He's now an actor and producer, known for Misfit, coming out, already out. If you on Amazon Prime, you can see it there. Came out in 2021. Not of the 10, 2022 coming out, and NCIS Los Angeles, that will be coming out in 2020. We've been talking about why he believes hard work pays off. Consistency is the way forward. Never give up. Always be ready for an opportunity. Meet my amazing guest, Ahmed Mawas, as he shares his amazing journey into his becoming an actor and how he believes if he truly believes in your dream, you should go for it. Meet Ahmed. Well, hello everyone and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. As you can tell, today's conversation is one that gets me really excited because so many people have tried and want to make it out in the world and they're not quite sure how to take that risk. My guest, Ahmed, will be telling you about his own journey and why he always uses this famous quote, hard work pays off. Let me tell you a little bit about him, but I will tell you that in my introduction. If you haven't listened to the introduction, he was born in London, England, raised between Ghana and Lebanon. He relocated to the United States in 2006 and attended University of Minnesota. Graduated with a degree in electric engineering before turning his talent into modeling and acting. Guys, all this is so fascinating because his work is truly amazing. And how do you turn from engineering into creativity? We'll be finding out. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm wonderful. Thank you. And that's a nice introduction. I appreciate it. I laid it all out.
I struggle to read it because you know why? You've done so much. It's like, and you found your joy at the end of all of this journey. You now found your joy. You found something you truly love and you're really, really good at. And I'm so proud of you, all your work and everything you've achieved. And I can't wait for us to go into that discussion later. But before we get started, I know I did an intro. Who are you, Ahmed?
I'm still a little boy.
Oh.
I'm the same little boy that went to GIS in Ghana, the same little boy that attended Shwefet High School in Lebanon, the same young man that went to University of Minnesota. When I look at myself, I still see that young boy, that young man. I like to think that I have a very young soul.
Yeah, probably that's why you're where you are today, because as someone who's a youngster, I always say to people, the younger you are, the more you have an open mind towards life. You're able to take on bigger risks, which a lot of people have, get to a point in their life, oh, I'm 40 now, I'm 30 now, I can't do it because I've reached my peak in my life. But I think that starting is really an amazing way to stay, because it gives you that learning ability lets you take in new things and you're not afraid to do that. So I'm glad you started that way. But you've lived in some interesting location. You know, you were born in England, you've lived in Ghana, an African continent, European continent, and then you went to the North America continent. How did the global, lifestyle, living in all these various places, shape who you are today?
I would like to say, I think as a performer, it has definitely made me a better performer on camera. When I'm telling all these different stories, I'm able to pick out different experiences in my life and just bring them to the story and feed the character, so it's all coming from a genuine place. And acting and performance aside, when you're in the business world and you live in somewhere like LA, I feel like LA is an international hub. You get people from all over the world. And, you know, you've been in the business world as well. It's all about human connection. It's all about genuine relationships. So I feel that one thing that has also contributed to my success is my understanding of different cultures and ability to get along with people from all over the globe. I think that all combined has fed into my success in business and in acting as well.
I'd like to say you're also an advocate for African continent, because when you hear about the African continent, you know, not always do we hear positive things. And for you, you're very, very transparent, and you say, I've been raised between Ghana, and you're not afraid to say it. In a country like where you are today, when people talk about not knowing where that continent is, I mean, where especially Ghana, so people are starting to realize it. How do you vocal and talk about the beauty of that world of Africa?
I mean, it's a very sensitive topic, especially nowadays in the US. A lot of African Americans are tracing back to their roots. They're being very proactive in understanding where they've came from, and watching them take those steps in finding out their identities. You know, I do feel the closeness with them. I mean, a lot of my friends here in the U.S. are African American as well, and I feel that connection with them. In terms of advocating for Africa, to me, when somebody speaks to me and says, "Oh yeah, I went to Africa," I have to go, "Where in Africa, my friend? Like, you've got Africa, but where in Africa?" You know what I mean? It's always good to and it's always good to help people understand more and educate people if they don't know. It's not their fault, right? But one thing that I would love to do more, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. And I have no problem being vulnerable and open in front of people. It's what I do. I would like to contribute more to my attachment to Ghana and Africa, because a challenge that I faced, especially after even growing up till this day, when I tell somebody, yes, my great grandparents are 100% Ghanaian, which means that makes me a quarter Ghanaian, 1/8 Ghanaian. They were looking like, no, you're not. And then I had to find myself in this place where I have to either speak pidgin English or either try to prove myself. And then at some point I said, I don't need to prove myself to anybody, because I am who I am. And then we start to talk, they say, and they judge based on the color of your skin. And in the beginning of my career, I used to take it personal. It used to hurt me a lot. When I tell people, I grew up in Ghana, my family's Ghanaian, they're like, no, you're not. And then I have to defend myself. And it hit the peak at one point where this is before I made any of the movies that I'm in, right? When I first moved to LA, I went to this BET thing, Black Entertainment Television, and it was like a casting call. It's like a cattle call. There's hundreds of people. Everybody's waiting for their turn to get on stage to perform. And I'm all about taking risks. So I'm standing in line. 95% everybody's African American, everybody's Black. And you've got me in there, the handful of minorities that are not Black, but are in the line. I get on stage and I'm introducing myself. So-and-so, I'm part Ghanaian. Somebody actually yelled, "You're not Black enough," while I was on stage. And everybody, it was quiet, but everybody yelled that, "You're not Black enough." And I looked, and it hurt me.
Yeah.
Like I actually got hurt. I mean, I have tough skin, but that one hurt me because it was so personal, and the room was quiet, and it's like I stood out. It made me feel as if I'm an intruder, like I don't belong there,
Mm.
right? And obviously the judges were nice enough. They're like, they made a comment saying, please respect everyone. But I said to myself, I choose to no longer defend my my stance as a Ghanaian. They want to believe it. You don't want to believe it, don't believe it. But part of my agenda is, as I continue to grow and um, gain more notability in the industry, I do want to contribute to storytelling that showcase Africa, that showcase Ghana, and showcase the as they would say, half caste. I mean, you go to Ghana till this day, they use that term,
Yeah.
because that's what I am. My great grandparents, immigrated to Ghana, and I'm a product of that, right?
That's,
So, with that said, my contribution to Ghana is definitely a work in progress, uh, and it is not as strong as my contribution to my Middle Eastern heritage,
mm,
because since that is already visibly present, it's easier to advocate for that more than the Ghanaian side of me. But I'm
absolutely.
really glad we're having this conversation. I've never talked about this with any outlet, news outlet, podcast. This is the first time I bring this up. So
No, I think for me,
juicy stuff. So juicy stuff for you.
I think it was easier for you to have that conversation because I'm from Nigeria myself, so I understand, and I live in United Kingdom. My kids are also mixed race, so I always struggle trying to want to figure out where would their identity really be. Would they be they're from North America, they're from United Kingdom, they're from Nigeria? Where would they eventually find their steps? And I think this conversation was also helping me as well to understand that
Hmm.
it's up to them to actually, at the end of the day, to defend where they feel will be where they fit in for them. I can't do
Yeah.
it. I can't help them on that path. It's a journey they will have to figure out themselves. And
So
so
is
I'm
your husband is he British or American? Your husband?
Canadian.
He's Canadian. Wow.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. It's gonna be
So
an interesting journey for them. Yeah.
exactly. So it's something that they have to figure out on their own journey and figure
Mhm.
the path they want to go along. So
Yeah.
this is such an amazing. I'm glad we touched on that because it's such an amazing thing for so many people, especially now the world is still this so much such a melting pot. Is what we almost call this world today is a melting pot, and so many people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interracial couples going out there. So it's just
Yeah.
how, as individuals, you find your joy. In USA, you went on to go, you majored in a very difficult technical subject, electric engineering. I think, how does a guy who is such a great actor go into engineering first? What led you on this path?
I think I mean it came down to my parents, because in our culture, doctor, lawyer, engineer, you have to be one of those, otherwise you're not successful. But to give them credit, to give my father credit, uh, at the age of 17, you really don't know what you want to do. I mean, I knew I wanted to be an actor since since I want to say at 6 years old. I wanted to be an actor. I knew that was in my heart. That was my passion. But we still live in the real world where there are bills to pay, responsibilities to take care of. Um, you can't dodge that. It, and for my parents to help me to send me to the U.S., uh, it'd be pretty reckless of me to just go there and do a major that's very unstable, that has no guarantees, and it's a poor return on investment on their end. So when having the conversation with my dad, I made it very clear that yes, I will do engineering just so I can stabilize myself, have a foundation. But once I get that degree, I'm off to the entertainment world. And he said, deal. And to them, it's, and from their point of view, I understand. They want to make sure that they've raised their kid right and they're at the finish line at college. They want to make sure that they're fine, they're settled, that their job as a parent is done.
Mm.
Right. And I think that's the case that happened with us. As soon as I got done, as soon as I landed that job, my dad said, on your own, son, I did what I had to do. Now you're a man, go take your own risks. I'm no longer responsible.
Yeah.
and I did that. And until I feel like till this day, I my didn't start a business. Was funded by my engineering job, by my consulting projects that I did in the past. I would get paid from my technical expertise, and I would invest those in artistic endeavors. And that right there is what built my reel, what paid for my formal training, what everything from the start. And then essentially you get to a point where you have a nice portfolio, a nice reel of projects that showcases your talent. You've got, yeah, like I said, formal training. So when somebody looks at you, they don't just say, "Oh, he's just a dreamer." No, this guy's a trained actor, and all that was funded from my engineering jobs. And then from there, once you all have that portfolio, it becomes easier to find a manager, an agent, because they look at you and say, "Oh, this guy's got the goods. He can work. We can make money off him. Sign him."
That is truly amazing. How did you get into the modeling bit then? Then after that, then you just did that smoothly happen? Because a lot of people struggle with getting into modeling. How did you get approached?
Yeah, it's funny you say this. I just posted a video on YouTube just yesterday talking about my first audition. So I mean, people can find my pages. They'll see that video on YouTube. But essentially, I was working my engineering job, and I was on the bench because it's a consulting company. When you don't have a client to consult on, you're on the bench.
Yes.
And what people do on the bench, they do trainings. They just find activities to keep them occupied that will help them for the next project.
Yeah.
I was very personable with the team in the back office, and then they said, "We're doing a whole rebranding for the company. They've hired this production company that's going to take over, and this production company, they have a casting director that's looking for talent to be in our new website, our new brochure, etc." They said, "Ahmed, they're doing a casting call tomorrow. You should go because you don't have a project." And they called me a pretty boy. So they said, "I'm sure you'd like that stuff. Go check it out." In my mind, and keep in mind, I've always had a dream of entertainment because I also took classes in university. I've had the dream. At that point in time, it was my first couple months working as a professional.
Yeah.
So I was still fresh in the workforce. But then the next day I went to the audition, and in an audition, they put you in front of the camera and they tell you, smile here, smile there, act like you're doing this. I did it very well. And the casting director asked me, "Oh, who's your agent?" I told her, "I don't have an agent. I work for Genesis 10, the company that hired you, the company that hired the production company, which hired you to do this project."
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, you're a natural, sweetheart. Are you interested in doing this?" I said, "Yes, absolutely. I'm interested. Where do I start? What do I do?" She said, "Don't worry. I will send an email to Alicia. She owns More Talent Agency. I'll send an email, introduce you, and you guys figure it out." She sends an introduction email. And next, I'm in More Talent office. They talk to me. They like me. They see that I'm personable. They see that I'm green. I don't have any credits, but I did that audition. They saw me on camera. The casting director referred me, which means if a casting director refers you, it means something. So they signed me. And then from then on, I would book TV commercials. I would book magazines. I would book online stuff, online advertisements. And then at one point, I did this big campaign where my face was on trucks and billboards, and it was. And then once I did that one, the trucks, the billboards, and all that, that's when I said to myself, okay, that combined with a breakup that I went through, I said to myself, okay, it's time to move to LA.
No way.
Yeah.
Truly amazing. So it wasn't like, I guess you kind of knew though that this is something you wanted to do, but at the same time you wanted something stable. You wanted to build yourself, your credit, you wanted to do this for your family. When you look back at where you are today and how this whole thing came about, can you remember how your parents took it when they really saw you flying through in this world?
In the beginning, they looked at it as some sort of hobby. Like, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, nice, okay, good job, sure. They didn't take it serious, right? Until I showed them the first check. When they saw the first check, oh, okay, very good. When's your next one? I said, it doesn't work like that. I need to audition before I get my next one. And then I remember the one time we were really, really hit. And then, okay, our son is a star. Is when they were visiting me in the U.S. and I was driving on the highway. And I remember I was on a work call. I was driving on the highway, I was on the phone. It was legal back then to hold the phone on track. Just want to make that clear. I was driving on the phone. My dad's sitting next to me in the passenger seat. As we're driving, I look up. I see a billboard with my face on it. I'm driving. I said, Dad, check. I was very subtle. I'm driving. I just nudged him. I was like, yo, look up. I'm on the phone. He looks and he sees his son right there. You know what I mean?
And that is when he realized.
I think that one point in time was like, you can see his, he felt very proud, and he didn't show it, but I knew he felt very proud in that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love this thing about you, because as an actor and a producer, you have some impressive credit to your name. The Misfits, that came out in 2021. I think it came out this year. You have others coming out, The North of 10, 2022. NCIS, Los Angeles, one of my favorite shows. 2020. How did you approach, from this humble beginnings of being a model, being an actor, saving money to do all this, and now look at where you are today. You are in all of this. How do you approach working with different crews, casting, and the work ethics to keep going?
There's you said, you made a point in the beginning. You said it's hard work pays off.
Yes.
That's the first thing. I mean, I believe in hard work pays off, and I believe in always stay ready, because if you are ready, you never have to get ready. You know what I mean? So with that in mind, I don't wait for the phone to ring and tell me, hey, Ahmed, you have an audition for this. I live day to day as if it's weird saying this, but I live as if I'm already a star, an A-list star. I live as if I already have 50 employees working for me. I live as if I'm already on 3 TV shows occurring at the same time and shooting a movie at the end of the month. I live as if I have a fully busy schedule, that I need to be very sharp, with military precision and intentional in everything I do and how I spend my time.
That's true.
Which means my workout, I'm very strict on my workouts. When I have work that needs to be done, I try to focus and zone in and remove all distractions and knock out one thing at a time. Very methodical. The diet is something I am working on, because I love pizza, right? But I try to work on that, because I still want to enjoy.
Yes.
That's how I enjoy, right? But to summarize your question, I think it's a matter of being very structured and intentional with your living, right? Being very disciplined with how you go about your life, because when you have that in place, whatever falls, you just plug it in. There's a space for it. Whether it's substitution, take one thing out, put that thing in, put space in. You already have some sort of a program in place, and you just fit opportunities where they come in, and you just keep going. That's how I think about it, how I see it.
You're in Hollywood. Hollywood is a tremendous amounts of pressure out there. How do you deal with all the pressure of trying to of being the best all the time? I know you touched on it a little bit, but how would you really deal with pressure?
I think I'm not desperate, and that's another thing why my degree and my experience in business has served me very well. I'm not waiting for a project to get fed. I'm not waiting on a project to pay my rent, right? These projects, they feed life into me. It's a different relationship between me and film projects. Because I know I have my business on the side, the consulting business, the real estate business, that pays my bills. That's a job to me. Whereas when these films come in, I'm ready to make magic, right? And when you go into an audition room, people see that. People can tell the difference between somebody who's desperate and somebody who's very comfortable and just ready to play and just have a good time. I think that's one advantage that I have going for me. And also the fact about just being personable and just chill and cool with people and teammates. Because, I don't know if you saw my background. I have a history working for Deloitte, one of the best consulting firms in the world, and they invest heavily in their talent to understand business relationships, best practices for teamwork, how to move a project along, how to be invested with your clients, how to just work as one. So I bring all that experience into a movie set, and I think all that shows.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think it's all about the relatable, because even just talking to yourself, you make the conversation so easy. Even if we haven't met, you know how to just make it so comfortable, so someone doesn't feel like, oh gosh, I'm talking to someone. You just, I think that ethic is something that sells itself so simply. People are in a world right now where we want to work with people that are relatable, that are easy, because it's so stressful already. There's so much stress around us. So if we take one stress away from us by working with somebody who is relatable, who is great at what he does and still relatable, oh gosh, you're taking the book, and that wins every day. Yeah, the film, this film you're playing a lead role in this movie, the film called The Beauty of the Want. And that revolves around this addiction and just your life, your love for another woman. You play this volatile relationship. When you look at that, film in this movie, because I know I don't know if it's out yet because it's in the United Kingdom, not quite. When you look at this, what did you think about getting into that addictiveness, getting into that creativity to give it your all? So when an audience see it, because I saw the preview, and you went into it. You were a different person. You played it like a real addict, and this is your lead role. What were you thinking when you were filming this role?
So the acting method that I used for that project is simple substitution. The way I do is I look at this character, what's his objective, what's he trying to accomplish, and in that sense, he's feeling a lot of pain. There's a lot of there's a very strong yearning for something that seems so far away from him. There's obviously heartbreak in it as well. And what I honestly try to do is I just pull from real life experiences, and it's like as if you pull from real life experiences, you download it, and then you hit enter, and that's all I see in front of me. Does that make sense? And when we're talking about, I went through a strong heartbreak. That's the thing that triggered me to move into LA. That's one thing. Growing up, I've talked about this on social media. Growing up, I was bullied. I didn't fit in as well. There's a lot of anger that I carried with me at the time. And one thing that I do is I do journal a lot. I keep a journal, all memories. And what I try to do is I'll try to read my journal and say, okay, I just got to put myself back in that position and just let it all out. And the nice thing about when you're acting, the stage is your space to you're free. There's no judgment. You're expected to do this. It's okay to let everything out. And I get a chance to do all that when the cameras are rolling.
I know you did a beautiful job. When would everyone get to see this amazing movie? Because it's so great, and it's really.
So I believe that one is it has been selected to a few festivals. I think we're also waiting to hear back for more festivals, but essentially it should be on one of the streaming platforms.
Okay.
But we don't have one confirmed just yet.
Okay. Well, we'll be in touch and we'll definitely keep a post when that one is out.
Yeah.
Your Instagram page, I know we talked about it briefly. You talk about hard work pays off. and falling behind and refusing to fail, and how your failures in life are lessons rather than just sitting back and dwelling on your failures, saying, oh, this has happened to me, oh, this. When you look back at your life, what lessons have you learned from failure and from working hard?
I think from failure is, I think there's no such thing as failure unless you quit. The moment you quit, you've actually failed. And this hit me hard just this year alone when I just booked a very big commercial for a car company. And here's the difference. When I was in Minneapolis, I was booking all these commercials and ads. I wasn't part of the union, SAG, Screen Actors Guild. The difference between SAG commercials and non-union commercials is when you're a SAG actor, those commercials pay for one commercial can support you your entire year. It's big money, right? The difference is when you become SAG, you are no longer allowed to do non-SAG commercials. So when I was in Minnesota, all the commercials are non-SAG, which means the pay are decent, but they're not SAG paid. They're not like this money that's going to support you all year long, right? So when I became SAG in 2017, after I did Misfits, I became SAG. I said, okay, I want to play with the big boys now. Yeah. I became SAG in 2017, and we're in 2021, 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21. I would audition for commercials. I think I've auditioned for over 130 commercials, and I got no every single time. 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. For 5 years, I've been auditioning for commercials. No after no after no after no after no.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And I would tell myself, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. Because if I give up, that means I tapped out. It means I failed.
Mm.
Just this year, I booked the I can't say the name, but the automobile commercial. After 5 years of the on the flip side, my film and TV career was going very well, but my commercial was not, right?
Yeah,
it flipped. But thankfully, just this month in October, I booked it, and that reminded me that you'll never fail if you continue to try.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that story, because a lot of people, they do it for a month, sometimes for a day, and they want to give up because they're like, you told me to go look for a job. I went for an interview and I didn't get it. Forget it. I'm done. I'm back at home doing what I love to do. And in their heart of heart, they know they want to succeed. They know they want to be better, but the motivation to keep going. If you think about that motivation, because if you're to advise a younger person, someone out there listening, and in that point of giving up, what would you tell that person?
I would tell them you just have to keep going. You just need to understand in your mind that there is no giving up. Like tapping out should never ever be an option. Because Denzel Washington says this. He says, you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut. I apply that the same way. You just stay the course. It will happen eventually. Now keep in mind, I've been in this business for a very long time now, about 10 years, and I just started getting my shot, right? You need to take that into consideration, that it might take a while, but eventually it will happen. No doubt. Yeah. Perfect example is, and maybe this can cater to your audience as well, is back when I graduated college, I was an international student, which means in order to work, I needed a work visa. And at that point in time, 2011, it was right after the recession was 2008, 2011. Companies weren't sponsoring that many people. Like you needed to be a genius, like a 4.0 GPA student, top of your class, like all that, right? And I remember I interviewed with so many companies. I would go in and I would kill the interview. I'd like to think I'm a great interviewer. I would do so well in the interview, and then they would ask me, "How come you don't have a job yet?" And I would bring up the international student situation, and they would cut me off. They say, "Sorry, we can't sponsor you. Sorry, we can't sponsor you." I went through so many companies, and I wish I had that exact number, but I mean, I'm very confident in saying I think I've interviewed 90% of the companies that came to look at engineering students, and I would get a no one after the other. And one thing about me is I'm very stubborn. You know, I had the same mentality when I was back then that I'm gonna keep going. I think that's a strength of mine is the ability to be stubborn and just continue to fight for what I want. I remember um, I was at the gym and I get a text from a friend of mine named Pablo, one of my fraternity brothers, Pablo. He says, "Hey, ATM," they call me ATM is my nickname. He said, "Hey, ATM, my company is having a happy hour. All the executives are going to be there. You should come. Come and meet them." And keep in mind, when I would interview with recruiters. And recruiters are saying no means no. They're just following the checkbox. No international students means no. So he invites me to this happy hour. And at that point in time, I think about it. When you're just an undergrad, when you're a recent graduate, and you're speaking with all these executives, you're usually nervous. But I remember when I got that text, I rushed out the gym. I showered at the gym, got dressed, went straight to the happy hour. I showed up, and I remember at one point in time, it's like at one point in time, I remember I'm standing here and I have like four executives just surrounding me, and I'm just telling these stories. I'm just entertaining these executives, and then one of them says, "You know, how come you don't have a job yet?" And then I tell him, "Well, I'm an international student. Apparently, nobody's sponsoring." And he looks at me. He says, "You know what? We're gonna change that. Come
Oh,
with me." He goes to the bar, writes his number. I don't know why he wrote his number on a napkin, but he wrote his number on a napkin, hands me the napkin, and he says, "I'm going to give you an interview, and we're going to get you in. You're a solid candidate."
oh,
Swear to God, I went home. I cried that night.
oh my
I
goodness.
went home and I cried that night. And that gentleman, his name is Steve. We're still friends to this day. And yeah, the next day I got an email. "Hi, Ahmed. My name is Tara. So and so. We would like to invite you for an interview." Went into the interview. At that point, remember, I've gone through so many interviews. It's like clockwork for me. I go in, knock out the interview, they make an offer.
Oh, wonderful. That is such a great story because I think so many people give up because they just don't think that opportunity will arise. And sometimes you don't even know the method it will come by. Like yours, it
Mm-hmm.
was through a
Mm-hmm.
friend that said,
At a
come,
bar. Yeah,
yeah, you know, you just don't
yeah,
know. Just keep going. You never know. Oh my God, Ahmed,
at a
that is
bar.
amazing. That is,
And the same lady, Tara, the one that interviewed me
yeah.
and sent me the offer, is the same lady that told me, "Hey, Ahmed, they're doing the casting. You should go check it out." The same lady.
You see, life is full of blessings. You just have to be at the right place and be ready. I think it's what you said at the beginning. Be ready. You're
Mm-hmm.
ready. They called you. Your friend said, "Come to the bar. Come. We're having this happy hour." You
Mm-hmm.
rushed out. Many people will say, "Oh, I can't come. I've got these plans. I've
I'm
got
at the
this."
gym.
Be ready. Be ready for an opportunity because you
Show
never know
up.
when it will come down, and just show up. That is such a good
Yeah,
way to end this. But before I end this, I have to ask you the last question because
yeah,
one
yeah.
is an advice. I want you to advise someone from a
Mm-hmm.
diverse background. You've lived in
Mm-hmm.
United, you were born in United Kingdom, you've lived in Ghana, you've lived in Lebanon, you now live in the United States. You come from a very diverse background and you were able to take this acting into new levels. Now you've got your leading role, which would, for sure you must have worked so hard for it. Anyone who's trying to create a path to succeed in this career you've chosen from a very diverse background, what would you tell them about succeeding, about success?
I would tell them there's no right path. Sorry, there's no set path. You have to create your own. I don't want to say you can create your own. I say you have to create your own. What works for me may not work for you. You know, what works for X may not work for Y. You take what you have, the cards that you're dealt, and you forge your own path and you make it work.
Wow.
And also I think, and one last thing, obviously treat people very, very well, and collaboration is key. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. You can never go through this alone. You will never go through this alone. It's all about collaboration and teamwork.
Well, Ahmed, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know how busy you are. You took time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. Truly amazing.
Pleasure, Anne.
Thank you.